Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Packaging Your Potential from First Interview to First Year. I'm Alex Lemoyne, the Outreach and Marketing Manager with the International Corrugated Packaging Foundation, or ICPF. Thank you so much for joining us as we dig into what it really takes to land that first job, make an impact, and grow your career in corrugated packaging, one of the most sustainable and innovative sectors in manufacturing today. Before we begin our panel, I just want to let you all know that we will end today's webinar with a Q&A session. So please feel free to place your questions in the chat function or in the Q&A at any point in time, and we'll save some time at the end to answer those questions. So with that being said, we are thrilled today to welcome our three young professionals in the industry who are joining us and who not too long ago were sitting in your seats as packaging students. Nick Fields, Gabby Marino, and Grant Weber are here today to share their journey into corrugated packaging, as well as some insider tips that you can use to help you navigate your own career journeys. So we'll kick things off with some brief introductions, and I will first pass it over to Nick to share a little bit more about his background.
Thanks, Alex. So Nick Fields got my start in the industry, was born into it in a family business. Went to Indiana State for packaging engineering technology, where I then completed two internships with Pratt Industries, and I just completed my second year full time with them. Looking forward to get to talk to you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick. Gabby, you're up next.
I'm Gabby. I graduated from Clemson in 2022 with a degree in packaging science. I did an internship co-op at Sealed Air working in plastics. I then did an internship at PCA, which was my first job in corrugated. Loved it. Now I have completed 2.5 years working as a design engineer at Peachtree Packaging in Lawrenceville. We do a lot of stuff for like protective parts, or automotive parts and just any influencer packaging and stuff like that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gabby. Last but not least, Grant, take it away.
Hi there, I'm Grant. I just recently graduated in May with a degree in packaging science from Michigan State University. Throughout my time in college, I did 3 internships with Smithers, Green Bay Packaging, and Kellanova. And during my time at Green Bay, I fell in love with the corrugated industry. And so now I am into month 4 of my full-time job at Onyx Packaging, where we do a lot of package design and testing. So developing and then making sure that it can survive rigorous testing protocol.
Perfect. Congratulations and welcome. 4 months in. It's exciting. So we will dive in with our first question, and this is one that I will pose to all three of you. Gabby, if you want to take it first, that would be great. But we'll start just to get an overview of your journey. So how did you land your first role in corrugated packaging?
Sure. So actually, I will start basically from the beginning. When I was looking into schools, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and someone just told me one day, they're just like, oh, well, packaging science. I loved art, math, science, anything to do with that. So I looked into it, loved it. So I went to Clemson. I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus in the plastics industry. Once I did my co-op at Sealed Air, I was like, well, plastics isn't really for me. So I got my first role at PCA because I was going back home for the summer. They were like 5 minutes from my house that I grew up in. I was like, you know what? This is perfect. I reached out, I saw the posting on LinkedIn. I reached out and they hired me on the spot. So then that was the summer of my senior year right before I graduated, and a recruiter from Peachtree actually reached out to me directly, since Clemson, our whole design department at Peachtree is Clemson alumni. So Clemson has a great reputation at this company, and the recruiter was looking specifically for someone from Clemson and reached out to me, said they were really looking to grow their field, grow their department, and she reached out to me. They were happy to have me on board, and I've been working there ever since.
A success story for sure. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Gabby. Nick, I will hand it over to you. Can you share a little bit about how you became a sales rep at Pratt?
Yes, so I started working for the family business, like I mentioned earlier, when I was 14. I worked there for many years until I came to college and got my first internship with Pratt in Ohio, and then I got another internship with Pratt the next year in Texas, which led to my full-time position now. So pretty much born into it, but that first internship with Pratt really helped me get my foot in the door the rest of the way.
That's awesome. It's great to hear from somebody who grew up with it, but then also made the choice to stay in the industry. So thank you for that. Grant, what was your trajectory from undergrad to now working with Onyx Packaging?
I would say that I was really helped out by my internship at Green Bay Packaging. I knew after that that I wanted to stay in the corrugated design space. So my senior year of college at Michigan State, they do an amazing career fair for packaging students. And I basically went around and harassed all the companies that had corrugated design positions. Onyx was one of them that I had talked to previously about potential internships. They sent me the job offer and said, come on down and visit. And so I went down, visited, met everybody, and decided that that was where I wanted to end up full time.
That's awesome. And that leads us very easily into that next question about the importance and the value of internship experiences before you head into the industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about specifically what you found in your internship experience and what skills you learned that you use today?
Yeah, so a lot of students think that internship experiences are just resume builders or just to learn technical skills. But I think that one of the most important things that internships can do for you as a student is really show you where you may want to end up working in the industry. So, like I said previously, my internship at Green Bay really influenced my decision to become a designer and made me decide that that was where I wanted to spend my time, at least to start in the packaging industry. So not only is it that you can learn technical skills on internships, but you can really take the time. And a lot of companies also allow you to explore different areas. So even if you're designing somewhere, they might let you get your hands on sales or on estimating or something else to really see where you might want to end up. And so I think that's helped prepare me, not to mention the technical skills that I've learned. Some of the software that I work with, I got a little bit more in depth on the internship than I had in class. So just small things like that. But don't just think of it as a resume builder. Really try to take as much as you can from each and every internship opportunity.
Yeah, that's great. I think the idea of being able to explore so many different things and be exposed to it is a great way to figure out what you like and what you don't like as well. Nick, I know you've spoken to this as well. Your experience as an intern at Pratt Industries before you pursued your full-time position there. Can you describe a little bit about the application process, and what you learned along the way when you applied to intern there?
Yeah, so we'll start with the first one I had in Ohio. It was actually a fairly new plant, so I was the first intern. So it was kind of a guinea pig type as they'd never had one before. So the application process was really pretty easy. Just applied. I was probably the only one that applied and got it. So, but the second internship was a little bit more difficult, interview process. But there's a very large gap of jobs for students, so like the pressure, you don't really need to feel that much pressure. There's tons of jobs for packaging students and there's not a lot of packaging students. So just go and be yourself. It's all good.
Yeah. Quick follow-up to that. Were there any kind of tried and true interview tips that served you well in the application and interview process?
Yeah, I would just say just be confident. Learn about the company too a little bit before. That's something that I learned afterwards is it's good to know a little bit of background of who you're going to work for, what their goals are, what their business morals are, so you can kind of gauge if you do want to work for that company or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think companies really value coming in with an investment in who they are and what they're about. Gabby, we will come back to you for this next one. What do you think are one or two things that interns or early career professionals, so when you first start that job, what are some things that you can do to show initiative and help you stand out early on?
I think one of the best things you can do as an intern early on in your career to stand out is really just saying yes. You take every opportunity that's given to you. Just don't be afraid to, or don't be scared of like big projects if they're offered to you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Just anything that you could do, get yourself there. When I first started in my current role, I took every opportunity that was given to me. That stood out to upper management, and they actually awarded me with one of the largest design projects that came through my company later on or earlier this past year.
That's
So just
amazing.
kind of be yourself, but get out there, take every opportunity, if you have questions, ask them because the only way you're going to learn is asking questions.
Absolutely. So, so true. And that leads in nicely too, because we talk about a lot of soft skills. So once you enter the workforce, I think a lot of what makes you successful are some of those, those intangibles, right? The things that we don't always put on our resume, but they're the things that can help us stand out. So, Nick, from your perspective, what soft skills have been most important to you in helping you succeed in your career so far?
The main one, especially being in sales, is definitely communication. I'm on the phone, calling, texting, emailing all day. So that's just the biggest part of my job is being able to communicate with not only people internally in my own company, but my customers and externally in different companies. So definitely that's number one. And then I would say problem solving is another good one. Whenever my customers have issues, I'm the first point of contact. So then that issue comes to me, and I need to find the way to solve it. So those are would be my top two.
Absolutely. On the other side of that coin, there's the technical skill set, right? And packaging requires a vast amount of skills, just depending on what department you're working in, what project you're working on. And we know employers are looking for a lot of those skills out of the gate to kind of contribute to a company's operations and to their bottom line. Grant, what are some of the most essential technical skills that you have seen for you as a corrugated packaging professional?
Yeah, that's a great question. I know a lot of students, they're worried about if they have the right skills or not for certain roles heading into the industry. So, to me, as a designer, the number one skill I would say is having a little bit of background in RDOS CAD. It's something that's used every day across the corrugated industry for design. So, if you have any opportunity to learn it, to mess around with it, and to get as much knowledge of using it and the way that it works, that's valuable. I'd also say, especially personally, because where I work, Onyx, we do testing. Any sort of testing knowledge not only helps you if you have to do testing, but it also helps you in the design process, making sure that you're designing packaging, shippers, packers, whatever it may be, with enough integrity to actually protect the product and get it through that transportation process. And then all the other ones are fairly basic. You're going to want to be good in your Microsoft suite. You're going to want to know how to, like Nick said, communicate, send good emails, use Teams, use Excel, certain things like that, which will not only help you, communicate with customers and people internally, but it'll also help you keep your workplace organized and keep everything in line.
Yeah, absolutely. You brought up a good point, right, of kind of that fear of having those skills right at the outset. How can job seekers or people who are currently applying for jobs let their employer know that even if they don't have that skill on their resume, that they're willing to learn, that they're willing to build up that skill set over time? What can they do to communicate that in the application process?
Yeah, if you get asked a question about technical skills or if you know how to use this software, that software, and you don't, say no, but I'm willing to learn and know that I want to learn. Even for me, just starting in the industry here and only a few months in, my manager's already offered to send me to webinars and to send me to classes to help me get more knowledge and become more in depth with the software. And so employers, they're not always looking for the perfect polished student that has everything in line, but somebody who's willing to put the time in, put the effort in, and actually learn how to use this software. So don't stress if you don't know. They understand you're not going to know everything, and they are willing to help you learn some of this as well.
It's a great perspective, especially from someone who's you're just a few months into your career and you already feel that way. I think that's a wonderful sign. And shameless plug from the ICPF perspective, I think continuous learning opportunities is something our industry continues to emphasize and then also create new opportunities for new employees coming in. Um, Again, good transition. We'll go to you next, Gabby, about the idea of growth opportunities. Something that we think makes corrugated packaging so special as an industry is that there are so many opportunities to advance and to grow into leadership positions and have the opportunity to step up the ladder. In your experience, how does Peachtree Packaging and then also the industry as a whole present those opportunities to employees, and how can you take advantage of them early on?
So, Peachtree is a really small company. There's not a ton of room for promotional growth. There's a lot of room for learning growth. That Peachtree provides a lot of knowledge for like behind the scenes of manufacturing, like stuff that in the field consumers don't really pay attention to, they don't think about. So a lot of the manufacturing of corrugated designs, like the specifics of board profiles, die making, manufacturing, printing, gluing, so on and so forth. In order to take advantage of these opportunities early on, you kind of just need to take initiative. You want to learn, right? You want to have to I'm going to start that sentence over. You have to want to learn and grow and excel in your career. Then you take initiative to ask your employers what more you can do for your company, what responsibilities you can take on, what more you can learn from those responsibilities. But most importantly, always remember that there's always room for learning.
I love that. The idea of learning growth as well as growth in your position. That was perfect. I do want to throw this to you, Nick and Grant as well, just because I think getting the perspective from each of your respective companies is valuable. At Pratt, Nick, how do you feel like your employer makes you feel supported and presents those opportunities to you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of gonna piggyback off what Gabby said. There's a ton of learning materials that we have access to. We call it Box 101. And then whenever a position opens at one of our plants, it's usually open up internally first, which gives our internal employees the opportunity to apply for that job before we offer it to the public.
Love that. Anything that stands out at Onyx, Grant, for you or in your specific experiences about growth?
It's a really open book company. So if there's an area where you feel like you want to grow or something that you want to learn, all you have to do is ask. And normally, either someone will help you, they will show you how to do it, or they will just listen and say, okay, let's see if we can get any materials, resources to help you grow and learn. In terms of opportunities, similar to Nick, I think new jobs that open up are always offered internally first. And then from there on, if nobody internally fills it, it would go external. But similar to Gabby on the same end, it's a smaller company, so a lot of the opportunities more learning based and less within, moving up the corporate ladder. But still, plenty of opportunities. You just kind of have to go out and take them sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that idea of just asking and finding a supervisor or finding a senior employee that can help support you in that journey, that's invaluable. So small or large, I'm glad that you all seem to be finding that. Um, Zooming out a little bit to this idea of the culture of the industry as a whole, we talk about growth and how important that is, but there are some other values that I think makes packaging stand apart. And Nick, you have been in this industry since you were 14. You've had quite some time to kind of be involved as an employee and also as a family business. I want to ask you first, how would you describe the culture of your workplace today, but then the industry as a whole?
I mean, growing up in the industry, I always heard that, especially talking to other professionals in the corrugated industry, that this one is just different in a good way. Everyone is just so intertwined and connected with each other, different companies, it really doesn't matter. And growing into the business, I really do see that the connections I made between school, Pack Expo, golf outings, etc. It's nonstop. I've met a ton of people. It's helped me out, whether it be getting jobs. I got my second internship because I knew someone that lived there. So then I got that job there. So overall, this industry, I mean, it's hard to put into words, but it just feels so connected.
That camaraderie, the teamwork.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that really shines. Um, Ending on kind of more of a big picture note in the same vein of culture, I want to ask this of you, Grant. What do you see as the future of this industry? And I say that because we talk a lot about sustainability, we talk a lot about automation in manufacturing environments. What is it about corrugated packaging and making boxes that you think makes this industry a desirable destination for the next generation?
Yeah, well, what I tell everybody is that boxes aren't going away. They're used in almost every industry, even in just the simplest of terms. A shipper, if you're just putting your product in it and trying to transport it from place to place, it's almost always going to be in a box. And as a sustainability minor at Michigan State, I thought there was no better industry that I could move into moving forward because a majority of the corrugate and paperboard in the industry is all recycled or at least partially recycled. You can almost always recycle a box unless there's some crazy print or some crazy finish on it. And I just feel like those in itself make the industry so desirable to move into, not to mention being sustainable, but also being innovative. There's always new designs coming out and people trying new things. And you've seen with the cans, the can topper that holds, 6 cans together that's made out of paperboard. Like there's just these things that are always being innovated. And you want to be in an industry that is not only sustainable, but innovative. And I think that the corrugated field is just the perfect blend of both of those.
That's great to hear. I do want to, Gabby, give you an opportunity to speak to culture as well. Is there anything that stands out to you in terms of the culture of your workplace every day, but just the industry in general?
The culture at my workplace is very relaxed, very comfortable. There's only 3 designers in my whole company. There's me, 2 others from Clemson, and then pretty much everybody else is sales or upper management and production. So we're all kind of really close knit. Everybody knows each other. We all talk to each other as if we're basically family, but there's just so much connection. Like my parents came to visit one time and they met somebody that was in the packaging field, or they owned a corrugated company, and they met him on the airplane. So there's just so much connection, that it's just great. It's a great place to be in. I just and there's so much creative ability. I think corrugated is probably one of the best things to be in.
It's such a positive perspective from all of you. That was great. Thank you so much for sharing. And I think too that strikes a note of what we here at ICPF, that family idea of, maybe you come from a family business, but maybe you don't, and you're still invited in and you're still a part of a bigger community at work. So again, glad that you all feel that way about your workplaces. We will end with this question that will once again be to all three of you. What do you love most about your job? And I'll throw to Nick first.
So being in sales, I would say the travel and just seeing different manufacturing facilities, it's pretty cool just to see how different products are made. I've been in many different factories, pet food, shoes. I mean, just to see how everything's made, that's definitely my favorite part of my job.
Love that. Gabby, what about you?
The main thing I love most about my job is the creative ability and how each day is different than the last. There's some days I make just plain brown boxes. I've done some bumper wraps for Hyundai and Kia. Other days I make really complex, intricate designs. Most recently, I've made a school bus and a taco truck. But it just ranges. Like there's so many different atmosphere or so many different companies that we design displays for that no day is like the last. But overall, I think one of the most things I love is just seeing my designs be in store. People have them online, just anything that has to do with that creative ability.
Absolutely. Grant, what do you love most about your job?
I've got two here. The first one that I love most is being able to see designs all the way through, from design through testing, and making sure that, what I design is actually protecting and performing at the level that the customer wants to perform at. And number two, it's kind of simple, but just talking with random people, and whenever anybody asks, "What do you do?" Getting to tell them I make boxes and seeing them like look kind of confused and then like laugh, and you're like, no, 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 for real. I make boxes. It's one of the most enjoyable things that comes along with working in the corrugated industry.
Yeah, and then you get to explain why boxes are so important and why they matter to
It's
everybody, right?
and everybody's always like, well, oh yeah, there's way more boxes than I thought. That's a way bigger industry than I thought it was. So it's always a light bulb when you talk to people about being in the packaging industry, specifically corrugate.
Can I follow up to Grants on that?
Of course.
Very similar to that is like I tell people all the time, well, what do you do? I make boxes. And everyone's like, what do you mean you make boxes? So I tell them what I do. I was like, well, a lot of the times I make like display work, but recently I've been like bringing home a lot of boxes or like new ones, and I test my family members and be like, what kind of box is this? And I've made everybody in my family aware. So then when we go to the stores or they get something in the mail, it's like, oh, that's this kind of box. So I've kind of incorporated everybody in my family and like, here's what I do, and you're going to learn it because I also do it.
Love that. Family business in more ways than one, right?
Exactly.
Well, you three are all such great ambassadors for the industry, and thank you so much for all of your insights, all of your thoughtful answers. That was our last scripted question, but we will move to any questions that our attendees have today. So please, if you have questions for Gabby, Grant, or Nick, you can place them in the chat, or there is a Q&A function as well. And then as you're doing that, I will just advance to our last slide here. There's a QR code for you to use to access ICPF's Linktree that has our website and all of our social media accounts. So please go follow us at Careers in Corrugated and continue to use our resources. We do have quite a few free either video libraries or career pathways information or a jobs quiz. All of that's available for free on our website. So go ahead and take a look and stay connected with us. And if there are any questions at this time, I think we have one in the chat now. How does your company show that they value their employees, or how do they show support for their surrounding communities? Is there any one of you that feels drawn to that, to answer that? Grant, go ahead.
I've got a pretty great response to this actually. I do work for a smaller company, like I said, kind of similar to Gabby's situation. And what they do is they do the intangible things for us, right? So, once every couple of weeks, the manager, she'll bring in lunch for everybody and we'll all sit together and have lunch. I know that just a few weeks ago, we went to a soccer game as a company all together. So everybody from the office got to spend time outside of work, enjoying the time together. And then in terms of showing support to the surrounding community, Onyx does sponsor a lot of events. So recently we sponsored the walk. It's the largest walk in North America. It was this Walk New Albany, and it was a 10K, 5K. You could do whatever one you wanted. And so we sponsored that. We also got to participate in it. And so that's just one of the many different ways that, they give that back to the surrounding community. But it was nice to also get to, show face and be present. So it's not just a name on a billboard. It was also us walking with the surrounding community.
Love that. That's amazing. Nick or Gabby, anything that comes to mind for you too?
I'll answer. The way my company kind of being very small, we're right outside Atlanta also. To show value to the employees, our company hosts company-wide picnics around really throughout the year. We'll go. We have two buildings across the street from each other, so they'll set up picnic tables outside. They'll grill out. We'll have a whole company-wide lunch. And then around like Thanksgiving and Christmas, usually the day before the holidays, they'll cater a big lunch for everybody in the company. Bring your families. Just kind of that. They also, a lot of people bring in like breakfast sandwiches sometimes and along that way. But being so close to Atlanta, and there's a lot of like the small technical high schools around, we work a lot directly with those high schools. So we'll bring in the high school students, help them out with their projects if they need like posters or they want to learn more about all of or the corrugated field. We'll bring those students in. Just kind of stuff like that. We do participate a lot in the manufacturing events. Uh, I forget what the actual term of it is called, but we participate a lot in that. Kind of make activities for the students. They'll come in, tour the whole plant, and then get an activity and a little box of goodies to take with them when they leave.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
We have a couple more questions. What is the best question to ask an employer during the interview? This is a fun one.
I would say that it really depends on who you're interviewing with and what you're looking to get out of the interview. I know that employers do, and they do like getting questions. It shows that you care, it shows that you want to know more about them. But, one of the best ones is, what learning opportunities do you have for us? Or it could be, about the company specific. It could be about your role. What is a day in the life is a great question to ask just to give you an idea of what you're actually going to do in that position. So it really depends on the company and what you're looking to get out of it. But asking questions is always a great step when you're in an interview.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something you're going to get almost every time, right? So having a couple of those locked and loaded is great. Um, did location of your internship determine the company that you chose for any of you?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Yes and no. With the first internship, yes, it did because it was so close to my house. But since Pratt gave me the option to explore different locations, I was able to secure one in Texas, which I've never even been to that state before I took the job. So the spread that the packaging industry has, I mean, locations are endless. So really, wherever you want to live, there's most likely a job for you there.
Hmm. Yeah, quite a few locations across the US for sure. This looks like the last question we have in the chat right now, but did you feel prepared or underprepared on the first day you started with your company? If you think back to that first day, what it felt like?
I felt very underprepared. I felt like Clemson, at least in the classes that I took, didn't focus a lot on corrugated. So when I started, I did not know RDO's CAD. I did not know about the different board profiles and the allowances and all that stuff. So when I first started, I just sat there and I was like, I have zero idea what you're talking about. My manager would tell me, well, this is how you do it, and if you draw it out, then you should be very successful that everything will fit on the first try if you draw it a specific way and you can see all the different like board profiles. But I felt very unprepared the first day I walked in. And even still, there's still stuff that I just look at my manager and be like, I have zero idea what you are talking about. Please continue explaining it.
Yeah.
But every day is more learning and it's so fun and nobody's going to come to you. Or I've made a few mistakes and it's never been an issue. Like, make mistakes. As long as you can go back and fix it, go for it. Just
Hmm.
keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said before, that opportunity to grow in your learning. I would say what some of you spoke to as well, the idea of asking questions, not being afraid to ask for help. All of those things are so important. Um, Nick or Grant, any feelings on that first day that you can remember?
Uh, I mean, I did design on an internship previously, so I felt like I had a solid foundation to work off of. I kind of, on not as similar to Gabby in this one, but I knew RDO's CAD. I had worked in Corgus, so I knew a lot of the tolerances and the specs. Obviously, every company does it a little differently, so there was a learning curve. Um, but I knew what I wanted to go into, and I had done it previously, so I felt pretty good on the first day and ready to rock and roll.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like that's the end of our questions from our attendees today. Thank you all. Oh, no, we've got one more. What is the skill you learned outside of the classroom that was helpful to you? Kind of maybe harkening back to that soft skills discussion.
Yeah, I would take this one. I would say being able to work with a group is very important. With whatever company you work for, you're gonna have to deal with a ton of different people and a ton of different positions. So you need to learn to work with other people. So in college, just being around all the different people, living with different people, hanging out with different people all the time, it just helped me learn those skills like communicating and problem solving.
I think you also need to learn like along the lines of communication, but also interpretation. So being a designer, I work very directly with the sales reps, and I have to take, okay, sales reps put in this request, but is what they typed in their request actually what they mean? So you kind of need to interpret like, hey, I know that whatever they type out is not actually what they mean to say, so you need to kind of figure out, make that those relationships and the connections with your sales reps just to determine, yeah, I know that you're looking for something completely different than what you've typed out to me. And just kind of talking with them and saying, hey, like we can't actually make what you're asking for. Can I change this? And being able to go back to the customer and saying, these are all the reasons why we need to do what we say we want to do and see how they come back with it.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think the nuance of communication and being able to manage those relationships is so important. Um, Outside of soft skills, we've got a question. Did you learn a technical skill that wasn't taught in class, that's been helpful to you in your role?
Say for technical skills in the corrugated industry, they can be pretty difficult to learn outside of a job or classroom, just because a lot of it revolves around, software that we can't just go and, pay for and download on our own personal computers. It's pretty costly, but I will say that, the more technical side of things that you can kind of get into outside of the classroom, anything Microsoft Suite, especially Excel. Excel is going to be, you're going to use it for everything. Not only going to use it for everything, you're going to be, tasked to set up things and create organizational documents using Excel. And then I'd say the other one is just you can always read about um, different technical skills. Like there's help forums for Arduous CAD online, which might be a little more difficult if you can't actually use the software. But in terms of like testing, like if you can read through and learn the different ISTA procedures and the ASTM procedures, just to have a solid basis of, what testing in the industry looks like. I think all that would be valuable to learn outside of the classroom.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, I think that brings us to the end of our questions and our live Q&A and our webinar for today. Thank you all so much. A special thank you to our panelists for your time and your insights, so valuable and so many great things we hope that you're going to take away from today's conversation. And we hope that you'll continue to stay connected with ICPF. Please leverage us and our resources. Get in touch if we can help you at all in your career journey. And we wish you the best of luck. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.